Hi, so this video is called If We're Not Enough, and essentially we've created this video to have a conversation about when it might be time to look for further support than what we are able to give. And although we hope to support many of you throughout your recovery and hopefully play a really informative, compassionate and empowering part of your recovery process, there may be times when you may benefit from something in addition to our resources, or there may be times when our resources may be something that can help you in the future, but actually right now you might need something that looks a little bit different. And it's important that we have this conversation because although I'm a therapist and although all of our videos they're informed by therapeutic theory and principles, and I really wanted to share things and share knowledge that I would share with my clients on a weekly basis. But that doesn't mean that these videos are a replacement for therapy. They look very different to what it's like to actually access, one-to-one therapeutic support. And there may be times when you need to access that. So I wanted to create this video to help you to recognize when that might be something that you might need to explore or want to explore. Because sometimes it can be really hard to recognize when we might need extra support, and it might also be really hard to ask for that extra support as well. And although it's really normal and understandable that you may find yourself really struggling after your experience, and you may feel completely different, your relationships might be different. We've talked about this in most of the videos really, that there is no kind of end point in healing. But there are times when things might feel a little bit worse, or things might feel really unmanageable, that you actually feel that you can't keep yourself safe. And that's mainly what we're going to be talking about today, is what that might look like and some of the steps that you can take to keep yourself safe. So we are going to be talking about sort of aspects of self-harm and suicidal thoughts. And I know that we've covered this in the description of the video, but I just want to kind of highlight to make sure that you are taking care of yourself while watching this video. It's a sensitive topic, and it can be triggering for people, so just be mindful of that as you're watching, and if you need to take a break at any point, please do. You can always come back to the video later. So I guess I really want to normalize that having thoughts of harming yourself, or having thoughts such as, I don't really want to be here anymore, actually even thinking about ending your life, it's a really common thought process. It's a really understandable way of coping and responding to what you've been through. But I guess the difference and the really important thing to highlight here is that if those thoughts are becoming so overwhelming that it's really getting in the way of you living your life the way that you want to, or actually you're finding yourself starting to act on any of those thoughts, whether that be actually starting to hurt yourself or making a plan, thinking about ways to end your life, or actively putting steps in place to do that, then it's really important that you know that there is help out there and where to access that help. And I guess there are kind of 2 points of access to support. There's something called crisis support, which is essentially for if in this present moment you are experiencing thoughts of self-harm or wanting to end your life that mean you really feel like you can't keep yourself safe, then at that point you can access the crisis line. Now, each local area will have their own dedicated crisis line, and we have a link below this video, and we also have a page dedicated on the website to the steps that you can follow. But the NHS has a link on their website that basically allows you to search for the crisis teams in your local area. And they're a 24/7 service, so they are always available at whatever time of day or night. If you need them, you can pick up the phone and they will give you advice on what steps to take next. And it might mean that they want to come and see you at your house. It might be that they want you to go to a crisis centre, which is essentially, it's a service dedicated to assessing your needs and making sure that you're safe. If you have self-harmed or actively done something to hurt yourself, then you must always call 999 or present at A&E. If you're in need of urgent medical attention, always call 999, or you can visit A&E. And at A&E, what will happen is a member of the crisis team will still come and do an assessment with you. And the same is true for if a crisis line doesn't feel like the right thing for you, if you need to take yourself somewhere in that moment, you can present at A&E if you're experiencing any thoughts of hurting yourself or harming yourself in any way. Sometimes when you have presented at A&E or you've accessed the crisis line, or perhaps you've visited your GP for advice on this, they might refer you into the crisis team, which is a service that's dedicated to supporting people, not just in those moments of crisis, but actually on an ongoing basis. And so you could be allocated a mental health worker, and they will usually visit you every week. You'll have phone calls with them. And what you'll do is you will develop something called a safety plan. And it's a really collaborative process. So you will do that with your mental health worker. And essentially it's a very personally tailored plan that outlines steps that you can take in moments of crisis, but also hopefully things to help you to prevent reaching that state of crisis. And that might be things like knowing what your triggers are. It might be things like having a really safe loved one who has agreed that you can contact them whenever you need to. It's things like having all of the support lines saved in your phone, and maybe even knowing when you might need to remove items from your house to keep yourself safe. So that's how you would access both the crisis line and the crisis team. But you can also go to your GP if you are not in that emergency state of crisis, but actually you're experiencing suicidal thoughts or you are actively self-harming on a regular basis. Then you can speak to your GP, who will either be able to refer you into a mental health team or refer you to talking therapy to help you to better understand what's causing these things and how to manage them as well in a way that hopefully has less adverse outcomes and consequences for you. And at all points throughout this accessing support, it's really important to know that you're not being judged in any way for whether you're experiencing thoughts or whether you're actually actively hurting yourself. It's a very, very common coping response to things like you've been through. And it makes sense and it's an understandable coping mechanism. But it's also one that I imagine has really difficult and unwanted consequences. And it also means that you may be putting yourself in danger, and that's not something that anybody would want. So there is support out there. And although we've talked about this in this video, we do have a page on the website, like I've mentioned, that has step-by-step details on all of the resources that you can access and has all of the numbers and the links to the website. So it might be a good idea, particularly if you are experiencing these things, to maybe just have a read of that and perhaps even maybe print that out, have that to hand so that you've got something to refer to if you need to. But it's also really important to note that you could be really struggling and not have suicidal thoughts and not be self-harming, but actually that you're finding these videos quite overwhelming. And although we want to have a really conversational feel to these videos, we're a very passionate and enthusiastic team, but we are a small team and we don't operate 24/7. So that means as much as we hear each and every one of your voices and really encourage you to comment and interact with us in these videos, we're not able to respond in real time, and we're not always able to respond to every single comment. And sometimes you might need that. Sometimes you might need that human touch, that interactive element. And so there are services that you can go to if you need an immediate response. And again, we've linked those resources below this video and on that page on the website. But I just wanted to mention something called Shout. It's a really great service, and essentially it's a text service. So you can text Shout to the number which we've linked below, and somebody will respond immediately. And so these are trained volunteers to support people with their mental health, and it's instant. And I think the fact that it's over text as well, it potentially makes it a little bit easier to talk about some of the things that you might be feeling. And maybe it's less scary or less daunting than having to pick up the phone and actually speak to somebody. But if that is your preference, then we've also linked the numbers to Rape Crisis and Samaritans as well. And they all operate 24/7, and they're all a really compassionate and supportive service that aims to just be a really non-judgmental ear to hear you and to talk to you about whatever it is that you need in that moment. So that's something that you can definitely use if you're finding yourself needing some kind of interaction with somebody, whether that's after watching a video or maybe even just before you think about accessing the videos. And that's also an important thing to note, is if you are currently seeing a mental health professional, whether that be a mental health worker or you're in therapy, it might be a good idea just to run it past them before you start to watch these videos. And we won't know where you're at in your kind of recovery journey, and it might be that some videos would be a great addition. It might be that it might be too soon to watch some of those videos, and you know that more than we do. But it might be a good idea to just get your professional's advice, speak to them about what it is that you want from these videos, and how you might be able to work alongside therapy or whatever the kind of intervention and support that you're receiving is. And it goes without saying that, particularly if you're coming to these videos because something has very recently happened to you, or you're accessing these videos because somebody has harmed or is actively harming you, it's always vital that that if you feel like you're in danger at any time, that you always ring 999, whether that be for safeguarding purposes, whether that be for medical purposes. Always know that they are there to help you, and that you can access that number at any point. And you also might want to ring 111 as well. If you are, whether this be for your physical health or your mental health, if you are experiencing anything that means you feel you want some advice around your health, you can always ring 111. But again, if it's a life-threatening situation, you feel your physical health is in jeopardy, your safety is in jeopardy, or you're unable to keep yourself safe because of your mental health, then always ring 999 or go straight to A&E. So I'm aware that this video might have been a little bit heavy. It's a slightly different tone, I guess, to some of our other videos, but we really, really, really want to make sure that your safety is prioritised at all aspects of your recovery, and we want to be an additional tool. And the last thing we would want is for you to feel triggered in any way, or you to be struggling in any way, and us not be able to kind of signpost you to where you need to go to get extra support. And I guess, much like every other video, if you're watching this video and you're feeling like you've got any questions about any of that, you've got any comments on whether we've missed anything, whether you think you've experienced something and you've accessed a specific service that's been really helpful, a specific helpline that's been really helpful, it'd be really great for you to share that for our knowledge, but also for other people accessing these videos as well. And as always, you know, we want to empower you to take ownership over your recovery, and that means knowing when we might not be enough. And I think the beauty of these videos is that they're not going anywhere. We will be adding to these on a regular basis, but they will always be here for you for when you are ready. And if you need to take a break at any point, that's what they've been designed to do. So I hope it's not been too heavy. I would advise you to just have a read of some of the signposts, some of the extra information that we've listed on the website. And if you've watched this and you've thought, oh, well, actually, you know, I think I probably do need some extra support, then it might be helpful to watch our video on Therapy Explained as well, because we talk about a little bit of what we've talked about in this video, but we also give you really specific advice on where to access therapy, both privately and funded therapy, and I guess just a little bit more about what therapy looks like, so that hopefully it feels like less of a daunting process. So yeah, as always, it would be great to hear your thoughts, and any questions you have on anything related to this video, please get in touch.